when I first met Srila Prabhupada, I was a member of the Namhata party in Japan. And it was in 1975, I believe, and the Vrindavan temple was under construction. And we were collecting for that, and supplying Prabhupada with the funds for the construction of Vrindavan, Mayapur, and Bombay. So one time I had the opportunity, Guru Kripa Maharaj took me along with him to India to bring some Lakshmi to Srila Prabhupada. And this was cash that we had collected in Japan. And we flew from Japan to Delhi, and we traveled up to Vrindavan. And so when we arrived, the temple was under construction at that time. And I know the guest house was for sure, really the whole temple, it wasn't open yet. So we arrived there, and it was in the probably afternoon, and we went to Srila Prabhupada's office. He was sitting behind his curved desk there. And we came in, offered our obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, and then Guru Kripa Maharaj put this briefcase with the money on Srila Prabhupada's desk for him. And I can't remember Prabhupada exactly what happened, Prabhupada opened it or what. At some point anyway, the amount had to be revealed. So Guru Kripa Maharaj said, "There's $108,000 in there, Srila Prabhupada." And Srila Prabhupada said, "Thank you very much. 109 would be better." So when it came to matters of Lakshmi to be engaged in Krishna's service, I think Srila Prabhupada was showing us that auspicious numbers are very auspicious, but more is even more auspicious. I think some of the most important instructions I ever heard from Srila Prabhupada were regarding the chanting of Krishna's holy names. One time I remember in particular was 1977 at the Kumbh Mela. And Srila Prabhupada had been there, and that year was a huge gathering. That was not just the ordinary Mela, that was the Kumbh Mela. Everybody, every yogi in India was there. It was the hugest. And anyway, Srila Prabhupada had been there for some days, and then it came to the time when he was going to leave. And we went to see Srila Prabhupada off. All the devotees who were there, and there were many. So Prabhupada, instead of just going to his car, we received word that we all had to come to a tent that was there, that Srila Prabhupada was there, and he wanted to see us in his tent. So we sat down, and Srila Prabhupada said that it had come to his attention that some devotees were beginning to add the word bhaja to the Hare Krishna mantra, but chanting bhaja Hare Krishna. So Prabhupada told us the Hare Krishna mantra is perfect, and nothing should be added to it. And that he did not want us to add that bhaja Hare Krishna. Just keep it Hare Krishna, the 16 words of the Hare Krishna mantra that he had taught us. So that was very instructive. I've heard some devotees say and preach that ecstatic dancing, wild, is not the right way to perform kirtan. That, the Prabhupada step is the ideal way, but that to go wild and dance like madmen is not acceptable. Well, I can tell you two incidents that definitely prove to me that that was not the case. In our Sankirtan party, the Namhata, we used to do some pretty wild dancing in kirtans, including the hot step, the hot foot, in which we just, just step it so hard, and just many crazy whirling around and swinging each other around and everything. So when we were in Hawaii, with Srila Prabhupada, there was a big kirtan one evening. And I remember Yasodanandan Swami, he could jump like a mile high as he pounded his mridanga, almost into dust. It was hitting so hard. He was leaping so high. And the devotees were all, especially the Namhata devotees and all the Hawaii devotees, were dancing like madmen in that kirtan. And Srila Prabhupada was on his Vyasasana there for it. So at the end of the kirtan, Srila Prabhupada began to say the Jayom prayers. And when he got to all glories to the assembled devotees, he changed it. All glories to the assembled dancers. All glories to the assembled dancers. Like that. Another very important instruction to me personally that I heard from Srila Prabhupada was on that morning walk that I went on with him in Vrindavan. He talked about many things that morning. He sat down, we walked out away from the town of Vrindavan and out the other way. And then Prabhupada sat down on the side of the road for a while with cushions. Shrutakirti had brought some cushions and they were fanning him. And Prabhupada sat there and he talked about many things that morning. And one of the things he said, which has always stuck in my mind, is that disciple means instrument in the hands of the spiritual master. Disciple means to be instrument in the hands of the spiritual master. So, that's something that's stuck with me. I can't say I've always fulfilled it, far from it, but I still cherish the thought and hope to. But there's just a picture of like a hammer in Srila Prabhupada's hands, and he just uses it for whatever he wants, however he wants, and that's the position of a disciple of a bona fide spiritual master like Srila Prabhupada. Well, one time I was in Mayapur. This was in 1976, and I was serving in the Pujari crew there. And one day I was collecting Tulsi manjaris from the Tulsi plants that grew around the temple, what they call the Lotus building now. And all of a sudden, Prabhupada's servant, I think it was Harisari, pretty sure, he yelled down to me, he said, Pundarika, come upstairs, Srila Prabhupada wants to talk to you. Come right now. So I came up to Prabhupada's room, and Prabhupada told me, never touch Tulsi with a knife. I'd been cutting with scissors, the Tulsi manjaris, and Prabhupada said, never touch Tulsi with knife. So you're supposed to pick by hand the Tulsi manjaris and never a knife. So whoever's engaged in Tulsi worship should really know this. And one time I got in big trouble. This was in Mayapur, and probably many of you devotees that hear this now, you're going to blame me for it if you never knew the true cause. But it was sugarcane season. And they were harvesting the sugarcane, and all the devotees were getting pieces of sugarcane and chew on them, enjoying the sweetness of the sugarcane. And I had chewed on some, and our room for the devotees from our party was on the top floor of the temple, what they call Lotus building now. And somehow or other, I had stashed this chewed remnants of sugarcane somewhere over the railing in an inconspicuous place. But Srila Prabhupada, he never missed anything. He'd come to a temple and anything out of order, he would see it. Like he had eyes for it. Krishna gave him the eyes. So he saw that, he found that, and he became very angry that devotees were being given the privilege to be able to stay in those nice quarters, and they were abusing that privilege by making a mess there, chewed sugarcane remnants, stashed some there. And so at that time, Prabhupada, I don't remember exactly what words he spoke, but he sent all the devotees who were living in that building, he made us go out and live on the wall around Mayapur. There were those very small little rooms out there. And he said we all had to leave those quarters because we were not qualified to stay in them. And he sent us out to the mosquito-infested wall to stay. And he told us not to eat sugarcane anymore. So I didn't know exactly what he meant by anymore, but to this day I've never ever had any more sugarcane. One time Guru Kripa Maharaj wrote a letter to Srila Prabhupada, and in this letter he expressed that the devotees were really having a hard time in Japan. There was a lot of opportunity for sense gratification, and sometimes devotees were taking advantage of it in various ways. And so Prabhupada wrote a letter, and in it he stated that the devotees are really struggling to do this collection here. And he was, I believe what he was trying to put across to Srila Prabhupada is, can we get out of here? But the service was important, because that's where the money was being collected for Vrindavan, Mayapur, and Bombay. So Prabhupada wrote back in his letter, you should know that I am pleased when my devotees are struggling. So Krishna consciousness is not easy. Not easy to follow the principles of it, not easy to do the instructions, chanting 16 rounds, or going to the Mangal Artik, and so many instructions. Now, and also service in Krishna consciousness may not be easy either. You may have to struggle hard to do that. But Prabhupada said, you should know I am pleased when my devotees are struggling. Parentheses, for me, for my service, for Krishna's service. Je anilo